Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one we are going to have a look at yet another English beer, and for this one we're going to go to Yorkshire and we're having a look at a collaboration beer between two pretty well regarded breweries actually. You've seen me review beers from both of these guys before. So for this one we are going to go to Vocation Brewery once again, and this particular beer is called the Hang Loose, which is a West Coast IPA coming in at 7.2% ABV in collaboration with Magic Rock, who are from just up the road in Huddersfield. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. So as I've been complaining about on the channel over the last little while, there's not that many West Coast IPAs still around these days. I mean, I've been really missing the kind of higher bitterness, the sweeter malt bases and things that you can normally expect from this style. It's all about the kind of oats and the haze craze these days. So really curious to see how this one turns out. Like I said, two very well regarded English breweries, and hopefully this turns out to be a really quite nice beer. This is another one that's available in Tesco stores throughout Scotland and, you know, the rest of the UK these days. So very curious to see how it turns out, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. So let's see how we go. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done both from Vocation Brewery and from Magic Rock Brewing. No doubt I'll add more to both of those lists in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about both the breweries involved here, and we'll start with Vocation Brewery since they are the home brewery in this case. So yeah, so Vocation Brewery, as I've mentioned to you before, are based in Hebdon Bridge, which is about halfway between Manchester to the southwest and Leeds to the northeast, kind of in the southwest corner of Yorkshire if you like. But the brewery itself was founded back in April of 2015 by John Hickling. He'd worked for a long time in IT within the banking industries, and he homebrewed as a hobby basically, just as a bit of an escape from his kind of monotonous working life as he put it. But he grew tired of his work and he decided that he wanted to turn professional and take his brewery to the next stage. So he enlisted at Brew Lab in Sunderland, which is quite a well regarded brewing school these days, and he also worked for a period after that at Jarrow Brewery. So when they decided they were going to move premises, he bought some of their old equipment and then went on to found Blue Monkey Brewery in Ilkeston with his uncle back in 2008, and they successfully grew this brewery over the following years. So in 2014 he decided he was going to sell Blue Monkey, and then he founded Vocation Brewery because he decided that he wanted to have a new project. And I think he was actually originally from Yorkshire as well, and he decided that he wanted to go home. A lot of people from Yorkshire talk about having this kind of nostalgia, if you like, for the homeland, so he decided he wanted to go back and start up another brewery. But they opened up the new brewery in Hebdon Bridge in Yorkshire back in 2015. And they started off with a 15 barrel brew plant, and they've grown the fermentation capacity over the last few years as well. But they opened their first tap room in Hebdon Bridge in 2018, and then this was followed up with another tap room in Leeds in 2019, the following year. But as of February 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 80 different beers, and like the Blue Monkey before them, the Blue Monkey Brewery, sorry, before them, these guys have gone on to be very well kind of decorated and very highly regarded actually. Harry and Craig and Rob and Dean and all of these guys, Peter, have told me that Vocation Brewery are one of the English guys that you should really keep an eye on. So if you get the chance to try some of the Vocation beers, They're definitely worth having a go at. The Love and Hate New England IPA that I reviewed for you a few videos back, that was a very, very nice beer, and hopefully this is one that follows on in the same light. I need to make sure and keep an eye on these guys and try some of their other beers at some point in the future. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Vocation Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And if you want to see all about the different beers that they've done, I'd recommend you check out Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate, because there's a lot of information available on there. So anyway, on to the second brewery in this collaboration then, Magic Rock Brewing, and you know, a lot of people will know this name. So Magic Rock Brewing, as I've told you before, are based in Huddersfield in Yorkshire, England, just a little bit kind of over to the east of where Vocation are from. But this brewery was established back in 2011 by brothers Richard and Johnny Burhouse, although Johnny later left the company, and they were joined in the early stages by head brewer Stuart Ross. So the beer brewing began in mid-2011, and the beers proved very, very popular, and the brewery went on to win the accolade of Best New Brewery of 2012 from Rate Beer, which is a pretty it's a pretty impressive accolade, if you like, when you consider all the American breweries and things that are considered for this. So to win the best brewery from Rate Beer is a pretty good achievement. But the brewery apparently were largely inspired by the craft beer market over in the US, and they wanted to bring these beers to people in Yorkshire, and you know, since they've taken off, they've been expanding their capacity and increasing the number of staff they've had steadily over the last few years, just based on demand. But since 2015, this brewery have been based in the Willow Business Park in Birkby, and they now employ well over 30 people just on this site. But this site has a capacity of 15,000 hectolitres of beer per year, and they're continually expanding the fermentation capacity, as I said a minute ago. But in March 2019, Magic Rock was bought by the Australian group Lion, who also own 4 Pure Down in London, as well as Little Creatures in Australia and the Panhead Brewery in New Zealand as well, and they produce the Castlemaine 4X and James Bogue beers in Australia too. So as a result of this, some of the Magic Rock beers are brewed in Australia and New Zealand and distributed around there, which is, in a way, it's good because they keep those beers fresh and it spreads the brand around a little bit. But as of February 2020, when I'm reviewing this beer for you, they've produced well over 100 different types of beer. And when I think about it, probably my favourite beers from Magic Rock have been the Cannonball series. I still need to review the original Cannonball for you, right enough, but the Inhuman Cannonball, Unhuman Cannonball, and I forget what the other one was called, but the Cannonball series is always worth checking out. And the Salty Kiss, which if I remember rightly, is their stout, is a very nice beer as well. But Magic Rock Brewing, definitely worth checking out. One of the really kind of prominent Yorkshire craft beer names, and you know, I'm sure Robert Hopson or Stuart Pickard from Gingerly Ale Trail, those guys will definitely attest to that. But a brewery that you definitely want to check out, and these days, because of their association with the Lion Group, they're probably a little bit easier to get a hold of. So yeah, definitely worth checking out if you get the chance. But that's all I'm really able to tell you about Magic Rock Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, as I said before, check out the brewery website in the description below, follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's going on, and again, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to get information on all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, that's all you need to know about all of the breweries in this one. Let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer then. So as I said to you at the start of the video, this one is the Hang Loose, a West Coast IPA. I think I told you a lie and said it was 7.2%. This is only a 7% West Coast IPA, which is kind of standard for this style. You can see the artwork on this is sort of, you know, trippy hippie tie-dye type. I really like that actually. It is a little bit sort of stonerish, or how would you say? Yeah, stonerish, hippie-ish, I'm not sure. As I always say in these videos, Peter over at The Clueless Drinker, he's a bit more artistically minded than me and would be able to describe it a lot better. But it says on the side here, Hang Loose, epic West Coast IPA, get barreled by bombs of Cascade and Centennial hops and spat out by classic West Coast bitterness. Piney and fruity with plenty of juice. expect gnarly swells of bodacious flavour. So yeah, as I say, as I've been telling you before, I've really missed the West Coast IPAs. You know, the hardcore IPA from Brewdog, now kind of available under the guise of Mr. President in Tesco's. That was always one of my kind of favourite go-tos. But it tells you a bit more about the back, about this beer on the back of the can. The malt base in this one is extra pale and caramalts. The hops are Cascade, which we know is the classic kind of West Coast grapefruity type hop. Centennial, which is that lovely kind of lemony citrus one. Chinook, which is the big beast pine resins, dark grapefruits and stuff. And Citra, which is the more tropical thing. So Cascade, Centennial, Chinook and Citra in this one. It doesn't say anything more about the yeast, but yeah, I think this one will be a pretty nice brewery. There you can see at the top of the can there is the Vocation Brewery symbol. Towards the bottom of the can there is the Magic Rock Brewing symbol. As I mentioned to you earlier, this one is available in Tesco shops throughout Scotland and the rest of the UK, and the can itself I think was about £3. So for 440ml of a 7% West Coast IPA, you can't really go wrong with this. But yeah, let's get it out and into the glass and see how we get on. So yeah, a little bit of smoke on the opening there, and we'll get it out. I'm really curious to see just how this turns out. I love my West Coast IPAs. A few of the Danish breweries and Swedish breweries now are starting to bring back some of the West Coast IPAs with that lovely sweeter malt base and higher bitterness and things. It's a bit of a shame how the West Coast IPA has kind of dropped back a little bit in terms of prominence, but yeah, there's some really good hazy New England IPAs out there these days, so it's not all bad, you know. Nothing against that style, I just miss having the variety, if you like. But as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lovely kind of bright yellow hazy sort of golden straw. The head on this one is just shy of 3/4 of a finger. I would say that it's a perfect white head. There are one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but overall it is pretty nice. You can see there's a few little bits of sediment just kind of floating around in this one. You can see a few of the particles and things just bobbing about in the glass, but overall it looks pretty nice. To be honest, when it comes to West Coast IPAs, it just depends on the malt base. Sometimes they can be a little bit more amber than this. This one to me is one of the brighter West Coast IPAs that I've come across. I don't know if it says on the side there, it just says that it's extra pale and caramel that's in this one. Some of them can be a little bit more hazy than others, so I guess this one isn't out with the realms of possibility when it comes to a West Coast IPA, but we'll see how it comes across in the flavour. That's the most important thing, of course. So yeah, a little bit hazy, as you can see if I put my fingers behind it, but let's have a look at the aroma and see how we get on here. Yeah, this one, the malt base comes across quite nicely. You can definitely smell a little bit more of that sweeter side of the malt base, so you can get a little bit of that kind of white bready thing. There's a little bit of a boozy caramel note to it, some biscuity notes as well, like McVitie's digestive kind of thing. But a few woody undertones as well. It's not the most complex of malt bases that you're going to come across. To me, it smells, if I was to have a look at this one blindly, I would probably think this is maybe around the 8.5% alcohol mark, because it does smell a little bit boozier than it is. So that's an interesting point to make about this. The malt base on this one comes across as a little bit heavier in terms of its alcohol content than the 7% that it is. So that's an interesting point. On the hoppy side of things then, with this one, to me, you can smell the sort of dankness out of this. I mean, you've got Chinook in this, Centennial, Citra as well. You know, those are quite high alpha acid hops, around the sort of 12% alpha acid mark. Cascade, even on its own, I think it's around 8 to 9%. It depends exactly where it comes from. Sometimes I think the New Zealand one's about 7%, but you know, a lot of the hops in this have a good big floral bitterness to them, and you definitely get that kind of dankness out of the beer, and that's what you want from a West Coast IPA. So definitely some of those darker, heavier floral notes out of the beer that you'd expect. I don't get so much of the pine resin that you might expect from the Chinook, but definitely some big nice floral notes out of the beer. Teeny bit of earthiness in there, but again that's quite minimal. Bit of lighter grassiness, but it's really these bigger floral notes that take they're the ones that sort of take the reins in terms of the green side of this beer. On the fruity side of things then, there's the fruitiness doesn't jump out of the glass at you, and that's the interesting thing. So with this beer you get a little bit of the grapefruit, which will be both from the Cascade and from the Chinook, but to me the Centennial comes out in this one quite nicely, and Centennial is always going to give you that kind of lemony, that almost dry, lemony, sherbety type thing. You really get that out of this beer in my mind. It does, pardon me, it does have a little bit of citra in it as well, this beer, like I said, but you don't get too much of the kind of mango-y notes you get out of this one. For me, it's mainly a bit of a darker grapefruit, but it really leans towards that kind of zesty, lemony thing from the Centennial. So that's a really interesting point to make about this. You get a wee bit of the mango, you get a little bit of a kind of tropical-y thing, maybe a wee bit of a gooseberry type note out of this, because citra will give you a lot of these little complexities, of course, but yeah, you get a little bit of that gooseberry lychee type thing, but otherwise to me the citra takes a little bit of a back seat in favour of the Chinook, the Cascade and the Centennial. So yeah, interesting aroma that one. As I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck into it. But let's have a taste of this beer then. This one is the Hang Loose, a collaboration between Vocation Brewery in what's it, the name of the town's going right out of my head, is it Hebdon Mills in the southwest of Yorkshire, and Magic Rock Brewing from Huddersfield in Yorkshire in England. Both Yorkshire breweries very well regarded. Let's have a taste of this. Slàinte, skål. Oh yeah, that's pretty nice actually. If we think about this, first impressions, if we think about this in the context of a West Coast IPA, it's definitely got that kind of caramelly sweetness that you'd expect, but it's definitely got more of a kind of smoothness to the malt base, if you like. It's not like an old school kind of Sculpin or Torpedo or something like that, where the malt base really leans towards that boozy kind of caramel note. This one does have an element of that kind of it doesn't have Pilsner malt in it as far as the label says, but it does have a little bit of that more kind of pale malty, crisp kind of edge to it actually. But it's a solid take on the West Coast IPA actually. Thumbs up to both Vocation and Magic Rock for this. This is nice, it's well done. Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to drink that again actually. And again, as I said with the Love and Hate, the Vocation Love and Hate, to have a beer like this in your supermarket for £3 a can, that's pretty damn good, I have to say. So yeah, if you're missing the West Coast IPAs, you can go to Tesco and you can get the hardcore IPA, or you can get this one, and you know, both are very solid takes on the style. The Mr. President, sorry, not the hardcore IPA, the Mr. President is definitely a bit more boozy and caramelly than this. This one is the one to have if you want something a little bit more kind of crisp, I would say. But yeah, let's try and break this down a little bit then. So, middle of your palate, you can feel that little bit of pale malty quality, that blankets the middle of your tongue, and that really forms the backbone of the beer. It almost feels as if towards the back of the palate you get a little bit of that crispness that's kind of, it's almost a little bit similar to Pilsner malt actually. But I think it's maybe the booziness of the beer that's bringing that out. But if you move towards the centre of your palate, you start to get those kind of oily, almost concentrated kind of brown sugary notes, and as I say, that's the booziness coming out of the beer, but a sweet kind of caramel there in the middle of the palate covering that up. And as you move further out towards the palate, it gets a little touch more biscuity, but I really think this beer leans towards the kind of pale malty side of things in terms of the malt base. it's, again, for a West Coast IPA, it's not the most complex of malt bases that you're going to come across. It's not the sweetest of malt bases that you'll come across in the West Coast IPA category either, but it does the job. And it gives you that nice, it gives you a nice base for the kind of floral aromatic notes that are quite prominent in this beer. So yeah, let's focus on the hoppy side of things then. So back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness to this one. As you come further forward, you get that nice big sort of dank floral piney resin note there, and that's the Chinook that's going to give you most of that. I mean, the Cascade gives you a bit more. You'll notice around the front part of the palate it's a bit more grassy, and the grassiness for me comes more from the Cascade, but these big dank floral aromatic notes mainly from the Chinook, but the Centennial and the Citra will contribute a little bit to that, but yeah, big dank resinous notes out of this. The pine notes are coming out in this quite nicely actually. I have to credit the beer for that. Quite often with these newer takes on the West Coast IPA, you don't get so much pine resin. It tends to be a little bit more floral and spicy, you know, Columbus based basically. But the Chinook really comes out in this one, and to me that's the kind of quintessential thing for a good old West Coast IPA. But yeah, fruity side of things then, as I always say, the fruity esters come out of the beer in that little oily bubble behind the front curve of the tongue, and for me this one again is pretty nicely done. So if you go towards the back of that oily bubble, you get the big dark grapefruity notes, which will be both from the Chinook and from the Cascade. Citra to some degree will contribute to that as well, but as you move further forward from it, it kind of gradually fades out a little bit. There's not too much in the way. From Citra you would normally expect a little bit of mango or something, some of these lighter tropical fruits, but I don't get too much of that out of this beer. It might be, I've got the feeling that just from the taste of this one, I think this beer might be around a month old, maybe pushing 6 weeks, something like that, because you can really feel the hoppiness gives you a little bit of the dryness, and it's maybe the hops just started to drop a little bit out of this. But at 6 weeks old, it will still be in pretty good condition, especially with the level of bitterness you're getting out of this beer. But yeah, a little bit of a dryness to this beer from the fruitiness, to be honest with you. But as you reach the kind of front part of the palate there, you start to see the Centennial coming out, and you get some of those lemony, citrusy notes coming out of this beer. You get a little bit of that zestiness in there. So yeah, you get that big dry piney resinous quality. You get some of the lemony zestiness on the front of the palate, and a kind of nice dark grapefruity note out of this one. This beer, it has that lovely dark bitter big dankness that you would expect of the style actually. The malt base isn't quite as sweet as you might get from some IPAs, like I said, Sculpin or Torpedo and things like that, but it really has the big hoppy character that you want actually. So this is a nice contrast to the love and hate that you'll get in some of the other IPAs I think that are available in the Tesco range, but a really nice take on the beer on the West Coast IPAs actually, a bit more of a modern take on the West Coast IPA, but thumbs up to both Magic Rock and Vocation for this. This is a solid beer actually. A bit more of a kind of classic thing. Obviously there's so many hops available these days, but they've gone with Cascade, Chinook, Citra and Centennial, which are some of the older boys on the block, but it's worked out very nicely for them. So if you enjoy a West Coast IPA, try this one. If you want something a bit stronger, go for the Brewdog Mr. President, which is still pretty solid. Yeah. But yeah, solid West Coast IPA, as I've said. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this beer is pretty mid-bodied. Carbonation's very smooth. Overall I'd say the mouthfeel, it's a blend between having a bit more oiliness to it and a bit more wetness. There is a degree of crispness to this one as well, which is quite nice. A bit more crispness towards the back of the palate. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a teeny bit of Pilsner malt in here that they're not telling you about on the can. But yeah, in terms of bitterness and things, this one's got to be about 70 IBUs. There really is a big piney dankness to this beer, which is very, very nice. that really lingers into the aftertaste as well. The malt base is more smooth in this one. It doesn't quite have the sweetness, as I said, that you might expect to some of these beers, so a bit of sweetness and not sweetness, sorry, crispness and dryness to this beer from the malt base. And the fruitiness, I'd say it dries out a little bit. This is one of the drier West Coast IPAs that I can remember having. It's not got quite the oiliness that you might expect of a West Coast IPA in terms of its fruitiness. So I guess you could say with this one there are elements where it does lean towards the kind of hazier IPAs. Definitely not the sweetest that you're going to come across, but it really does have that big hoppy dankness that you would expect from this style. So yeah, an interesting beer, this one, a little bit different from some other West Coast IPAs you might come across, but definitely worth trying if you get the chance. If you want something a bit more sweeter and malty, Torpedo, Sculpin, or the Mr. President are probably safer bets for you. But this one, in some ways, it reminds me of the Swedish West Coast IPAs from Stigbergets and things like that. It's got more of the kind of bready crispness to the malt base than you might normally find in this style. But a really nice beer, this, and it was definitely nice to review it for you here on the channel as well. So let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Hang Loose, a West Coast IPA. It's 7% ABV from Vocation Brewery in Hebdon Bridge, and Magic Rock Brewery, who are from Huddersfield in Yorkshire as well. A really nice Yorkshire West Coast IPA. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Vocation and from Magic Rock. No doubt I'll return to these breweries at some point in the near future. As I say, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media, make sure you check out both of these breweries, and we'll see about reviewing more of their beers very, very soon. The Hang Loose West Coast IPA, 7% ABV from Vocation, and Magic Rock Brewing, both from Yorkshire down in England. This beer is available in Tesco's for £3 a can, which is pretty damn good. Slàinte, skål, catch you guys very soon. Cheers.